I'm calling this planning board meeting to order. If we would all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. If you'll do a roll call.
Donald Alderman.
Here.
Brad Riddle.
Here.
Tim Bolliger is absent. Hector Tapanis is absent. Mark Bertacci.
Here.
Can you guys hear this out there real good? Okay, good. Thank you, because it sounds quiet to me. Must be the age. Okay. Do we have the minutes from the last meeting, or is that even on here? Oh, it's on the other side. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for saving paper. All right. If anybody knows has gone over the minutes from last meeting, if I can get a motion for approval.
I motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. 3-0. Okay. On to new business. Item number 1 is, I love these zeros, SIP 22-000012, Hidden Spring Villas preliminary plat. Is there anyone here to speak on that, or you want to?
We do have the engineer here, so she is here for any technical questions y'all will have.
Okay.
It is the preliminary plat, so you will all have already approved the plan development that is on there, and that was quite a few months ago. This is located off of Railroad Avenue, kind of between Gondola Gardens and the Douglas neighborhood, so right in there where there's vacant land. There's, I believe, 44 units. They are attached. So yeah, staff is recommending approval because it meets the needed criteria for a preliminary plat.
Mark, do you want to hear from the engineer? You weren't here for the originals.
So just a question. So when we approved the plan development, is that the PD?
Right.
Does that have any number of units, or is it just a zoning designation?
Correct. So that one, yeah, the plan development, PDs have.
Your mic.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was on. Plan developments have more information in them than just like your average base zonings. They're basically special zonings. So you assign what you are asking for in them. So in that plan development, she asked for a certain number of units, and then there was some information about landscaping, setbacks, things like that. So as long as she followed the PD, followed our code, and gave us the needed information for a preliminary plat, it's basically, it must be approved. Because it has the needed criteria needed, so.
The only real thing I was concerned about is the straight dead end at the end. There's no real turnaround there.
Right, and the fire department did approve that, so they've looked at it. There's enough room for them to turn around, enough room for the garbage trucks to turn around, so they were all right with that layout.
Okay.
Can I ask my questions now, or are we letting the representative?
Well, I guess he's here for the questions.
Okay.
So if you want to ask your, will the representative come up, please, and we can ask those questions?
Good evening. Wow, this is so far away. For the record, okay. For the record, I'm Kim Fisher, 1614 White Dove Drive, Winter Springs, Florida, and I am the engineer of record, and I'm here representing the owner.
Okay.
Fire away.
Fire away.
Who is the owner? Is it the owner of the lot?
It's the owner of the land, which is owned by an LLC.
Are they local or in the Gainesville area?
Central Florida.
Central Florida. And Brad, did you have some questions?
If you got some, go
No,
ahead.
I-
I've got several.
Go for it.
Okay. First of all, on the on sheet 2, what does the 2 areas that have out on it, what does that mean?
Those were not included as part of the parcel. So there's one house that just got demolished, and I think there's another house that's just not included in the land sale.
It's not included in
It's
the
not
land sale.
included in this piece of property.
Okay.
It was a very convoluted property boundary.
All right, and I need an explanation on on sheet 3. I've never seen this before, so explain to me what the metered in section is.
A mitered in section.
The what?
It's a mitered in
Oh,
section.
mitered, I thought it said metered. Okay, it's the
It's
print is.
small, yeah.
Okay, all right. Now I understand. I'm trying to think metered.
And by the way, the turnaround, we did a T-style turnaround, so they pull in, back up, and just FYI, you guys were talking about how fire and garbage trucks come in. We're doing a paved turnaround.
Okay.
And off of the ponds, the emergency outfall, where will that eventually dump to if they overrun?
So whenever we do our final engineering, Florida statutes through the Water Management District requires us to do a pre-post analysis. So whatever discharge is running into, in this case, into the railroad right-of-way, and there is an inlet and a swale system in the railroad right-of-way, we are not allowed to exceed that number for the cubic feet per second. We're not allowed to exceed that in post-development, so anything in between is what has to be held in the pond. So that is what we call the pre-post.
Okay. All right. I see there's 2 fire hydrants in there. I'm just making a note of that. All right, so I have a question. Who is going to be responsible for the cost of building the lift station? And I assume, I don't know, maybe Kevin could answer the data flow radio communication system that I'm sure will be used to monitor that lift station. I understand, or based on the information I have here, it appears that'll be turned over to the city, but who's incurring that cost to build that? Is that part of this little development?
Yeah, the developer will have to do, I believe you guys have a low-volume system, low-pressure system. So the private station will end up being owned by the HOA, the lift station, and then most lift stations have a SCADA system so that it can communicate with the city system, because, you know, if you have a hurricane and the emergency generators, if you turn them on in the wrong order, then the flow goes backwards and one resident's not going to be happy. But the plan is to have the streets and all of the infrastructure owned by the HOA. So the maintenance does not fall upon the city.
You mean the maintenance for the lift station is not going to fall upon the city?
Correct. Or the streets. It will be privately owned and maintained.
Will it be gated?
No.
Okay.
Wow. That's good, I guess.
Gotta love it.
It is.
I've never heard of that, so that's good.
I think we had encountered that on another project here, that the city just didn't have a budget, especially like for street maintenance. So we got hit with that last time, so we just followed it along this time.
Okay. All right, that already answered. I think I got one more question, and this is for Christie. Do the impact fees, are they in effect now for this development?
So they'll have to pay whatever impact fees are in effect now. So if the new ones are in effect, they will pay those.
All right, that's all the questions I have.
Oh, I got a couple questions still, I'm sorry. Are those out properties? Well, this first one's be for Christie. Will there be any problem with I assume those 2 are currently residential?
They are residential. I don't know if they are actually occupied. Let me look that up.
Because I don't want it to, if someone who wants to build there, if they're gonna have a problem having the,
I just drove by there, I can answer.
yes,
One has already been demolished and the other one is vacant.
vacant.
It almost
But
looks a little condemned, but I'm not.
there's a lot of wrong that was there for many years of those that we had problems with being in the fire department. We're always going there in the middle of the nights and stuff, so. But there won't be any problem with them if they want to build a house back there.
No, I mean,
with
as
this-
long as they can meet criterias for their needed setbacks and all that. Those are some slightly small, abnormally shaped parcels, but, yeah, they have access to a road, as long as they can fit what they need on there. If they can't, they can come to you all for a variance for something like a setback or, you know, square footage requirements, things like that. But their development will not be affecting their
But
parcels.
that's what I was concerned, I don't want someone else
Right,
to.
yeah, they're not.
Now, this may be asking speculation. Is there any thoughts of the owner of the property trying to absorb those properties or buy them and incorporating it, would that be a problem?
We sent letters, but they weren't responded to.
Oh, like the city does, so, okay. All right, well, that's what I was concerned about those two properties. I don't want anybody to kind of get bilked out of what they can do with their property. But
No,
if,
they have the same rights that they would if that was.
and is there a
left
problem if they
vacant.
do pick up the property, being able to absorb, do away with the boundaries and zoning it in with that? Would
If
that-
she was to bring it in, I mean, it wouldn't have the same zoning, it wouldn't have the PD zoning, but they could always leave it as green space and be done
That's what I'm
with it.
saying, but it would be considered part of the same property. They could do that without too much of a hassle.
They could technically absorb it, but it still wouldn't have the same zoning.
Right, I
But
understand
It
that.
could be all under the same ownership and everything.
Right, that's what I was, for tax bases and stuff like that, I was just trying to figure that
I
out.
don't think they'd be able to fit another building or anything.
No,
like
I'm not
that,
looking
no.
for that. I'm not looking for that. There's quite a few units here, which is surprising they could fit all that in there. But, okay, well, that was
Fit
it.
more.
So my questions might be mute because of the plan development being approved, but so the number of units on this square footage, was that that's what we were asked?
The
to
density
grant?
is the future land use, so it's so many units per acre. So they do meet what was the underlying, that future land use. So they meet our current code, and nothing was technically changed in the zoning that gave them more rights. It was just defining, this is your maximum.
Okay, so the future land use is something the city arrived at before this project?
Correct, yes, it was already assigned. It is a future land use of residential mixed.
And so that allows for 2,000 square foot lots, basically?
No,
'Cause-
so that's the item that we changed. So the density, it's the same number of units, but with the PD, they were allowed to do smaller lots because they're attached. So you wouldn't
Okay.
see like a larger lot with an attached unit because they're attached to each other.
Got it,
So that's where the PD came in, where we changed the lot sizes, setbacks, because under normal zoning, you wouldn't be able to have a 0 lot line building. So that's where we changed that there, but it's the same amount of units, same density.
Okay, per acre.
Mm-hmm.
And so was there any consideration about like the design of the houses?
Yes, so we did, Ashley, the city manager, she put in some architectural standards because we didn't want just a big monolithic slab of a building. So there are certain items that Kim and her developer have agreed to, certain features that vary the facades and landscaping, things like that, so we don't just get an ugly building.
And those considerations would come later in time, so this is basically, we're just approving the layout and the density.
So this one's the preliminary plat, so basically it's the layout of the lots of where they're going, where the streets are going, and the kind of preliminary data, and then they will go into the construction
Architectural.
documents, final plat for recording and all of that. So this is kind of the layout.
And so in other words, would we have another shot at being able to like look at the designs?
Oh, like the
Yes.
architecture?
The number of trees.
The
I
facades
don't
and the
remember
colors?
if we wrote in that plan board looks at it. I can pull the document.
I
I know
don't-
we kind of went back and forth
I
on
think
that.
we do.
I-
Don't
I
we
Do you
do?
remember? Hang on.
Well, I think it's already been adopted.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it
that's-
was
Yeah.
adopted. I just don't
Yeah.
remember if we left in the part where they look at the architecture, or if you're just good as long as you have the architecture we agreed upon. I might have it in here. Hang on.
I don't remember that.
Off the top, while she's looking at, what was the height of the buildings? I forget.
That'll be a maximum, I think, per code of 35 feet. The buildings aren't designed yet. That'll
Right.
come
Afterwards.
later, but I
But
think
that
the
was the maximum.
maximum was
Okay.
35 feet. So they're going to be two-story.
Okay.
And do I remember correctly, because it's been quite some time ago, this was supposed to be a little bit more affordable housing for this area?
Right, not affordable as in we're going after state money, but yes, I'm going to call it attainable.
Yes.
More of attainable housing.
Okay.
We are in a rental desert here.
Yes, that's what we were told and advised by city council, so we listened.
So then
I think it
the
was if we
structures
had
being built
changes to
together,
that,
that's
I
what
think it had to
Yeah,
be-
I'm
knew
pretty sure it's
like
just
last
that you
meeting.
had
Yeah.
to follow
Yes.
what we.
They're two-story like townhouse setups,
with, instead of two, it's four.
4 units. Yeah.
Developer agreement.
I don't
we
know if they're
have-
going to be
building
upstairs,
materials,
downstairs for
roof,
each one, or
windows,
if it's just gonna be
garages.
2 units
Here
on
are the
top and 2
features.
units on bottom?
So as long as
Maybe
you
that's a
follow
question
the features, it
since-
doesn't look like, oh, nope, I lied. City Commission approval. Site plans and building elevations must be approved by City Commission.
Okay.
So the architecture will go to commission, not to you all.
Just a question, are they supposed to be 2 and 2 stack, or is it going to be some sort of like a upstairs, downstairs for each one?
Each unit will be two stories, so
Okay.
they're side by side, and each unit will have a garage.
Okay. Oh, that's nice, okay. Because what ends up happening, if you don't have a garage, people park on the street, and then the fire trucks and ambulance can't get down.
So the face of these will have a garage, each of these 4 units per structure? Okay. So the lot width is 20 feet each? And then, so a garage is gonna be part of that width?
Yeah, whether it's a single car or, I think the end units we have is 21 feet, maybe 20, but the building's not designed yet, so whether it's a single car or a 2-car garage, that'll be determined by somebody other than myself.
Okay, so the face of the building will have the garage and then the front door? And if it's a single garage, what's that width generally?
8 feet is the door opening, so. but
Probably
that's-
12 feet, probably, I
Yeah,
would say.
that's getting a little bit beyond the scope here
Yeah.
of,
Okay, I'm just thinking ahead.
No problem.
Yeah. Yeah, just, when you look at this visually, just, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a very dense project, but if it's already been approved in concept, there's not much that there's to discuss regarding that.
Right.
sorry, I just didn't want to answer building questions because I'm.
Oh, no,
that's
you're
outside
okay.
No,
my
you're-
purview.
You're fine. We kind of sometimes ask way in depth. We try to get more information if possible. We really try to do it well if we can.
I just don't want to give wrong information, but I know the size of the
We're
doors. I
we're about to
don't-
hold you to it, so let me write that down. No.
Right.
Is
Any
the
more
pond in the back just a retention pond?
Yeah,
Like,
I think so. It's just for
necessary?
runoff.
oh,
Any more questions?
Will we open it up if people are here for this?
Yeah, that's what I'm about to.
Okay.
If there's no more here? Anybody from the public want to speak on this particular project? Here we go. Just state your name.
Drew Travis. My question for Bridalwood, who is doing this, is
Oh,
who
no,
is,
this one's not Bridalwood.
okay, well, who is responsible for the notice of public hearing?
Notice
The planning board or the developer, or who's supposed to put that out?
So preliminary plots do not have noticing requirements. It would have been the zoning portion
Okay,
previously.
who has,
We do. So the
The
North
city
Central
does.
Florida Regional Planning Council helps us with the technical aspects, and then we post the signs and everything. But to be clear, this is not Bridalwood.
okay, that's all right. So the city of High Springs, correct,
Correct.
is responsible for
Ads.
putting out notice and ads?
Yes, so it depends on what the item is. So if it's a zoning, it has an ad in the paper, sign on site, letters to those within 300 feet.
Okay, the intent of the law is to notify neighbors, correct?
Yes.
I mean, am I understanding the intent of that law?
Yes,
300 feet.
but within 300 feet.
Okay, but the intent is to notify those that may be impacted by a change in zoning.
Within
it's
300
300
feet.
feet.
That's
Okay,
the law.
Who is responsible for putting out the notice of public hearing?
The city is responsible for sending out a notice under the code.
Okay, sending
300.
out or posting an orange and black sign?
We post a sign, we send letters, we post in the paper.
Okay, in the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, that's, I might have missed it. I never saw a sign. I never saw a notice of public. I never read in the paper. And I get this Alachua Today every week, that a major development was going to happen in my neighborhood. I am 5-6 houses from this major development. Granted, it's 300 feet, I'm 500 feet from the road. we learned by someone happening to ask the surveyor. He says, oh, they're gonna put 2,200 homes out here.
Can you confirm that you're actually talking on Hidden Springs?
She's
Villas?
not. She's
Okay.
talking about
Because
Bridalwood.
My
it's a-
question too.
It
is
has
there
to be
was
related
no-
to the item on the agenda. We
Okay,
are
there
currently
was no
on Hidden
notice
Springs.
on the 5 acres that this lady is representing.
Hidden Springs Villas is a preliminary plat. The information that would have gone out to neighbors within 300 feet would have been during the zoning portion,
Okay,
which was
was there-
September of last year.
Was there ever a
There was a
orange
sign on
and black
site,
sign?
yes. There was a sign on site, and there were letters to the public within 300 feet. And there was also an ad in the paper, which we have the record of.
Okay, would you send that to me?
Yes,
It's drewtravis@gmail.com. I would like to see that. Because I read them every week. Now, I don't read in depth everything, but I would certainly see notice of zoning change in High Springs.
Alachua County Today.
One that you can see,
Like, it
you know,
would be
like,
kind of
It's
the
fully
bigger-
handled by the North Central Florida Regional Planning Council. It's to code.
When they send the ad in, it's up to the paper to follow the proper coding, whether that, I don't know what the exact size is, but that's how they would
Can
handle
you hold
it.
that up for Kristen to see that, that notice? I was just curious, would it be that size more or less?
Yes, it would be that size.
And would that have
I
come,
get Newberry, I get Alachua, but I have not ever seen a High Springs.
I'm gonna make one comment to you. When I went to look at this project, back which it was last September, there was a sign out there.
Never saw it.
Well,
And I travel that road twice a week.
I'm just telling you what I saw, and I look at everything that comes before this plan board. I go visit that site, and sometimes we even talk to owners adjacent to whatever's about to take place.
It was
as far
published
as
on
zoning.
September 1st, 2022, and I'm printing the proof right now.
But on Railroad Avenue, there was a sign.
Okay.
That's how I found the lot.
Are there any sinkholes on that property?
I couldn't tell you. I don't get out on the property and walk.
No, I think it would be very difficult.
By my desk.
Well, that also would be trespassing on my part.
I mean, just to broach the subject about public notices, since we're sort of on the topic, not to belabor it, but let's just play devil's advocate, and let's say that people get the notice and there's public input, and, there's, vocal, what's the opposite of support?
Opposition.
Thank you. There's a vocal opposition to a project, but yet it falls within the future land use, such as this project, right? So we lay out the criteria. A developer comes and say, hey, we got a piece of land and we have a project that fits in your future land use. I mean, by law, can we oppose a project because people just don't like to see a big dense development? Or,
It's a bit
You
of a
can
tricky- you
to a
can-
point, but there
yeah.
are laws we have to abide by. As a board here, we have very little overall power. We're almost like a filter that if something comes through that's been approved by the city as far as the codes and ordinances and state law, we're to make sure that before it goes to the commission that they didn't miss anything. It's basically what we're here for. Now, when it comes to what the project we were talking about, I think she's referring to, is there was a situation where there are two plats on the same piece of property, one that was from 1920.
oh, the other project?
Right.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of convolution there. There was like 1,550 mobile homes could go in, and another 800 homes later. And what they did as a city, to avoid having a little trailer park in the middle there, and all these negotiated with the original owner or the property owner to develop it as a big, larger project, cutting the homes by 500 or 600 homes, but getting bigger lots. Instead of 40-foot wide lots, some are, I think the smallest is 70, correct? Up to
Correct.
100. And putting in parks putting in parks and donating land to the city and the county school district.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Time's up at the moment, and we're quite off topic.
Yeah,
on
we're-
this one,
the-
unfortunately. You'll need to speak on Bridalwood's one if.
No, I'm not,
if-
this
or
is not
if-
about Bridlewood, this is about the 5 acres.
All right, go ahead.
The area that this is in is all single-family residences, is that correct?
The
I believe
project
so.
is a
Yes.
single-family residence.
It's considered single-family, yes.
They're single-family but attached.
They're not condos?
They're single-family attached.
Units.
They are single-family residences.
They meet the requirement of being a single-family property.
Okay.
So they'll be sold individually.
Right,
Correct.
they're not, you're not renting out a group of apartments or selling the whole building and so they can rent it out as each individual.
Right, I
Right.
understand. I'm just wondering what the compatibility with the surrounding area.
Right,
Does it
it-
meet that compatibility?
Yes, I think it does based on that. It's just like someone putting a duplex next to someone's house. It's still considered single-family, but there's just 2 units in the same one.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
So another, and just to conclude, so if we publicize the crap out of something and got a lot of people coming in and
Right.
opposing something, but yet a project fits through all of our criteria, state, local, there's not much we can do to say no to the developer without risk of getting sued? Is that kind of the understanding?
Yes and no. It depends on if there's an actual legitimate reason and not just we don't want it, because property owners have rights. So everybody
yeah,
has a certain density assigned to them, a certain zoning assigned to them, and they can do things within what is assigned to them. So you can't deny someone based on not wanting. Now, if it was a legitimate reason, as in sinkholes on site, or
Safety.
if there was,
burial ground?
yeah,
Right.
any sort of actual legitimate reason you can bring up and use that as competent, substantial evidence. But
So
if it's just I don't like it because I live next to it, it doesn't work.
Right, or I don't
Then we
like it.
open ourselves up to litigation
Yeah,
from the
or
developer.
I don't like it because it feels too dense, even
Right,
though
because if
it's.
the density was allowed on that property, then if they're not asking for something more dense, then, well, if it's already allowed by right, then that's a moot point, because the code says this. So it's really what's in our code currently, what our maps say for future land use and zoning, and what they're asking for.
And so the future land use that allowed this PD did this piece of land, it just fell within a general possible placement of this future land use designation?
Right, so the future land use that's on it is like a mixed residential that's a little more dense. You'll see them more towards the center of the city, and this is not, right now, that area isn't developed, but the future land use says what it's gonna be in the future. It's the future land use, so what you want it to become. So, and that says how many units can go in there per acre, and they met all the criteria, and the only thing they changed was zoning, not land use. So the zoning changed, parcel width, steps, setbacks, and uses. You can assign uses. So basically, they assigned attached single family to this one. So they were well within code for this one, and it does fit the area.
Thank you.
we also have to, in ours, we deal with a historic district too, which sometimes comes into play. So this one isn't.
This one is not. This one's outside of it.
Thank goodness. Any more public comment?
Yes, I am Sylvia Martini Newcomb. I live at 16075 Northwest 222nd Street. The well-traveled path that goes against everybody's house that's in here. My question is, what is the city doing about the traffic that's on this road? Because let me clue you in, from the time that we built our house over 20 years ago, the traffic has drastically increased because people are cutting through from Newberry Road. They're coming through there, so they
Through
don't have
Railroad
to
there.
go- and to go to High Springs. Now, Railroad Avenue, I'm glad you brought that up too, because on Wednesdays, and no one is denying anyone the right to food, but if you turn on Railroad Avenue rather than going to the 4-lane because you're afraid of getting smacked to smithereens, because the trucks pull in, you can't see which way you're going. If you turn on that road, then you are driving on the wrong side of the road. You're driving on the left-hand side of the road. The people will not pull over. They used to have signs that said, no parking on this right-of-way. Well, when someone called and complained they're parking, you're not even following your own rules, what do? They go in, they pull up the signs. Okay, well, we don't have those rules anymore. Okay. So I am traveling on the left-hand side of the road. There are cars. In fact, I talked to Officer Presnell 2 weeks ago in the restaurant about it. And I was driving on the left-hand side of the road. There was a car coming. Luckily, the man stopped and allowed me to proceed to turn right at the church there on Martin Luther King Drive. Evidently, this woman thought I was trying to take her space to get food because she blows on her horn and runs like she's going to hit me. Now, I'm here to tell you, according to Officer Presnell, if I had been in a car accident, I would have been charged with the accident because I was driving on the wrong side of the road. That is not my fault. That is the fault of the city of High Springs of not providing for a better place for the food to be distributed. You need to figure it out and figure out what you're going to do with the school buses, because if you've got all these houses coming in, there's not going to be just one car in that one garage. There's going to be 2 cars, and that garage is going to be filled with all their junk that they have no place to put. And then your school buses, there's not room for 2 cars. I'm sure Ms. Travis and all of them can testify. One car pulls over to the side while the other car goes by because there is not room for, oh, shut up. There's not room for 2 people to go at one time. If you've been out there, you know that. So, and when Ed was here and they paved that road, he told me, he said, if you just voted for more and more penny, I could have gotten you a good road out there. Well, you know what, Ed? You took down part of my hill that goes into my property. You did not put a culvert there. And so now every time a deluge of rain comes down, I have to go back and I put dirt in my driveway again. This is stupid. Think before you act. Thank you.
Can you please go to commission and give that?
Oh, I've done it.
Really?
They don't like me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I motion to get the engineer back up here to solve this problem?
Ma'am, I agree with you. That food drive is a thorn. I've driven down that road and people think that, no. Number one, if you look at the license plates, most of them aren't even from our county. They need to move it out of the county. I do, but somehow some people around here think it's a great thing. And now it's going 3 days a week, I think.
It is.
You know, so unfortunately, we're the planning board. Yeah, trust me, I wish we had the power.
Who organizes the food drive? Do we know?
It's, right. Well, and part of our biggest problem is we have county, state, and federal roads running through our town that even if we wanted to widen a road, it takes, someone said an average of just to get a turnaround is 12 years. So you know, okay. Then you know. Okay. Any more comment?
We do appreciate your input.
We do, we really do.
Really
And
do.
I feel for you, I really do. I'm in the same boat.
And I understand this traffic problem, and I don't want to get off base here because it'll be coming up again, but I've spent countless hours on the Bridlewood development. We're not going there, but what I'm going to say in reference to traffic, I've done my own traffic count, and it's terrible. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I'm going to leave it at that.
I don't even travel downtown.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your name?
What was your name again, ma'am?
Taking up your time. No, you're not. Had a lot of discussion with the members of 1,000 homes being built. And then it was, I don't know, but there's nobody else here from my neighborhood, so I want to straighten it out. There's going to be townhouses, townhomes.
That's off of Railroad, so it's not, this isn't Bridlewood, this isn't off of 222nd, this is off of Railroad Avenue.
Oh, so they're
Fully
gonna-
separate.
Egress and ingress is gonna be Railroad Avenue,
Railroad
not
only.
222nd?
Correct, correct. Railroad
Oh.
only.
So, how far in or?
I can measure it for you.
2 stories are kinda, you can see it.
So if I measure from 222nd over to the property, it is 1,781 feet away from 222nd Street. So it's about a quarter way down if you're trying to go from 222nd to Main Street. So it's off Railroad. It does not come out on 222nd. And they'll be doing a buffer, so it's definitely not going to be visible from
It won't be
Cedar Lane at
visible.
all. It's nowhere near you.
Because we're on 165th Avenue off 222nd.
Nowhere near. You won't see
We won't
it.
see them.
Right. This one is not the one you will see at all.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Any more questions, discussions? No, I have none. All right, well then I guess I'm gonna need a motion.
Okay. I make a motion that we pass Hidden Springs Villas preliminary plat plan, SIP 22000012.
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion?
No, sir.
Christie?
Donald Alderman,
Yes.
Brad Riddle,
Yes.
Mark Bertocci.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. That was a long one, all right. Next one up is RL 23000001, rezoning from PD to R1, Joe Tillman. Christie?
So this is Joe Tillman's property. It is a 1-acre parcel that is on 222nd Avenue. It was originally in the Tillman Plan Development. So Mr. Tillman is wanting to rezone from Plan Development to R1. R1 is low-density residential. It's what it used to be before it even turned into a PD. And the reasoning is he would like to place a home on it for himself. And because it was still under PD, it caused a lot of problems because the Tillman Plan Development was never finished out. It was never platted. It was never done. So there were certain rules that couldn't be abided by because it was a dropped project and redone into Bridlewood Plan Development. So this is to, change his zoning from PD to R1, which is a very low-density residential, in order for him to place a home on it. So city staff recommends approval.
And this is off of what road?
222nd, it's
222nd,
that
okay.
small 1-acre parcel.
Oh,
If you know the Tillman's area, so it's a little south of where their graveyard is.
Gotcha.
So
Anybody else?
Avenue or street?
222nd Street. Sorry, did I say Avenue? I'm sorry.
that first.
222nd.
Any questions?
So it's basically taking a lot, an acre out of a PD, which could have even had denser
Correct,
development
yes.
and making it like
Just a
less-
family home.
One family, yeah. That seems pretty innocuous.
Wish I could get a piece like that. Any public comment on this item? Okay. Name real quick, just for,
So-
okay. Yeah, it has to be for each one.
That's okay, Sylvia Martini Newcomb. You remember the address, 16075 Northwest 222? I know the parcel that you're talking about. My question is, when the Tillman Acres gets expanded, and they are talking about that road coming out through there onto 222, how is that going to affect that parcel? Is it close to where the road would be coming out, or?
His parcel, the 1-acre, no. So between his parcel and the road, there will be, if you're heading south off of his property, so he has that one small acre, there will be a retention basin, a park, and then a road. So there's about an acre or two in between
Okay.
to where the road will be,
Okay,
roughly. We don't know the exact placement of the road yet until they get to engineering, but what they've proposed is that right now.
right, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Just, I guess legally, I have a quick question.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm not the attorney, but I'll give it a
well,
shot.
I mean, like, could a house have just been built on a PD without having to sort of up zone or down
Well,
zone, as the case may be?
So normally when you get your PD on there, which is your zoning, you go immediately into platting. But Tillman had that thing where they did the zoning and never platted it. So you have to plat before you can build. So he would have run into the issue of it's not platted, and
Okay,
this fixes an issue.
okay, understood.
Just shuffling the cards around to get them in the right place, so.
Yeah, okay.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. Sue Weller, and I live on 154th Place, right around the corner from 222. I understand as far as rezoning it to R1. My understanding is it being rezoned to R1, it also allows for special use and provisional homes, which my understanding is that a mobile home can be put on that property. And that is what I'm objecting to. I want it on the record that I'm objecting to a mobile home being put on that property. A stick home, fine, a regular home, because there are no mobile homes in that whole area. And I don't know that that is something that you can do or that you can recommend that not happen, but I want it on the record that I object to a mobile home being put onto that property.
Okay, I don't think we can do that for rezoning, because,
Right, so
but it would be if he
doing
platted
a
it.
special use, but special uses are not items that you all see. It's still good to get it on the record.
Right.
And that is information I will provide to the city manager when she goes to
Oh,
review the
I'm
special
all for
use.
that.
So basically, the special use is for a mobile home. And usually you look at what's in the area, you look if there's any floodplains, things like that, whether it has an existing HOA that says you can't do a mobile home, things like that. Ms. Weller is correct that there are no mobile homes in that area. You would have to go farther to the north towards Gondola Gardens to find any of them. So in his immediate surroundings, it is all site-built homes currently. So all that information will be provided to Ashley once it's applied for. So Mr. Tillman has not formally applied for a special use. He's only applied for the zoning.
So when he comes up for the special use, then it would.
So
would be
when
my-
he goes for the special use, then I will do the research of what's in the area, whether there's floodplains, whether there's issues on site, and, existing mobile homes around him, and then I give all that information to the city manager. She reviews it and approves or denies. It's
That
at
doesn't
her-
come to us.
Correct, yes. Special uses are only administrative, so it will be the city manager for that one.
A special use is applied for when there's a use that's special.
Right, yeah, so we have the
But,
allowable
I mean,
uses
meaning
table.
if it's not a site-built home, then.
Right, if he wants to specifically do a manufactured home, which
Okay.
is a mobile home. Now, he could go for a
Modular.
modular home instead, which are similar but under different codes. So he could do a modular instead without a special use, but he specifically, my understanding is he's going for a mobile home, which will require the special use.
And
But he hasn't applied for it yet, so I have
Understand.
no paperwork yet.
I understand. But I would also point out that shortly after we moved up here in 2004, there was a request to put a mobile home along 222 as well. I think there was a mobile home there originally, and it burnt down or something like that, and it was denied to the ability to put that mobile home on that, not that particular property, but along that road. Yeah.
And, just what is the notice, so is there a public hearing for special use or
Special
notice?
use, no. So they are the lowest tier of the uses. There's a special use, which is administrative. There is a special exception, which goes to you all, and then there is a conditional use, which goes to all three.
So other than approving this rezoning, we're out of the loop.
Can we
The
attach?
rezoning, well, we can't attach
No,
any sort
because
of,
it'd be
of
illegal.
anything to it, because that's not within this rezoning. But the zoning itself does fit R1. Now, whether a mobile home fits, that's whole separate project, whole separate kind of criteria. you're
But
looking
again,
at.
it goes to
Because
you guys, or one
even the
person.
ones that are out there that have site-built homes, everything around him is R1 except for the PD. So the zoning fits, but we'll have to see whether the special use fits. He's not applied for it, so I have not done the research.
And we technically can't turn this down without a good reason.
I know.
Can there be even though you don't turn it down, can you just do a recommendation that
I
that
mean,
be looked at?
the city manager will definitely get the minutes from this meeting. She will see that there was opposition to it, and then it'll go along with the research I do of what's in the area. So it will fully be up to her on it.
Well, no matter on the approval of zoning, I gotta agree with Ms. Weller here. I think it's totally out of character for the whole area. And she'll get that minute. It's got my voice on it.
Yes.
Mine as well.
And we're recording tonight, so she can always watch it back.
Oh, good.
Okay, well,
Uh-oh.
that's good.
All right, thank you.
Well,
Oh,
thank you.
thank you very much for bringing that up. I didn't even know that. Okay. Anybody else?
Nope,
Okay.
probably for all of us.
Julie Tapia Ruano. I live at 21428 Northwest 154th Place, also around the corner from Ms. Weller. For the record, I am opposed to any kind of mobile home being put upon that property anywhere within a mile of the zone or the parcel. Just for the record, make sure another voice is heard.
Yeah, thank you very much.
How you doing? My name is Sean Todd. I live at 22034 Northwest 154th Place. Where this property is at, we're aware of the graveyard there. And I was looking at the retention pond that's going to be directly behind the graveyard.
Right.
And if you've driven down 222nd there, you'll notice that there's quite a big dip right there.
Yes.
Well, probably about a week and a half ago, they went ahead and put a driveway up to this property already. And
The property that we're talking about now?
absolutely. And that immediately, the next day, we had storms come through, and that driveway ended out on the roadway. So,
Was that, can they put in a driveway?
I thought driveways needed driveway permits,
I
but
thought
that
so.
would be
Was there a
through a
culvert
different
put in?
there
department,
was
so
no
I can
culvert.
ask.
No, it's straight, this is the problem with these properties, is that where I live at, everything comes off of the Tillman's property, across the road, down the
Yep.
road, tears up a few people's front of our culvert, our driveways. The water is just, my front driveway just fills up with
What?
water. We call it Lake Todd. Yeah, the other day, with the water coming down through there, my barn flooded all the way through. I spent hours cleaning that up, but.
It never flooded before until they
No,
put the
well,
road?
let's just say the flooding is just, we got a lot of water.
Okay,
But,
Understood.
so
So it
I'm
was
a little
after the
concerned
driveway
about
went
the
in?
flooding on the roadway. This property here, of course, opening it up like it did, the water came out there and it's just.
Because you had that berm kind of run along
Oh,
there,
yeah,
and
yeah,
now it's
They
open.
tore the whole berm out, and now there's a driveway up under the property and everything, so.
Is our code enforcement up and running
Yeah.
yet?
So we do have a codes officer. He works 2 days a week, and then we're getting a full-time
Oh,
officer next month, sometime in July. I don't know his start date, but
Don't
I'm
tell
definitely
anybody,
gonna
everybody's
check
gonna
on
try to
this
get
one.
under the wire.
I'm pretty sure driveways
Project's in.
require some sort of driveway
Yes.
permit.
we need
so
somebody to look at that
I'll
ASAP.
contact Public Works and see if they have anything on file. Oh, wow, they really did.
Good job, Julie. There was
Can you send that to me through email? Or
bring it up here?
text or something?
it was about this deep on either side.
He took a lot of dirt out.
Well,
It was
it's all
almost-
in some of the cracks that it doesn't go in.
Is that like 12 foot or 14 foot wide?
Yes, sir.
That's huge. That's
almost like a Seems-
shopping center entrance.
Well, there should be hang on, let me look up a minimum.
size of that berm he took out.
I think there's
When
like
he did
a,
this, was there any trees removed?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This whole
so
thing
that
was
should have
covered.
required a tree permit.
See the trees probably.
There's the flowers.
Can we hold this back because of that?
Well, this is also a big concern of what's going to happen in the future, especially with these new developments coming in on 222. And I know you're doing, I know there probably all sorts of surveys being done at this point and, traffic, studies and stuff. But I'm really concerned, for our road. One of the reasons I moved here, I came down this road, a beautiful road.
Oh, yeah.
Overhanging trees. I do believe this was a scenic road at one point.
That's what they said, yeah.
And it's been, I'm just sorry.
Go ahead and continue.
I'm just a little worried that if we turn around and we keep on doing what we're doing, all of that, I mean, because that's a higher property over there.
Right.
All that water is coming back down there, and, you know, this is just an example of what's going to happen in the future, and it's going to affect my property, it's going to affect everybody else's. I mean, thank goodness, I mean, I've got a big old sinkhole on the property, so a lot of the water goes in there, but just sort of curious as to how, are all these properties, are they going to be looked at for sinkholes? Are they going to have geological surveys and everything are going to be done along that roadway?
Yes, so whenever, Bridlewood's separate, but when
I know.
Bridlewood goes ahead and goes forward, they do have to do geotechnical work, and they have to.
I think they already did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they already
they've
did,
got to
and
do that,
we-
but
yeah,
for this
it's-
one specifically with that driveway, I'm definitely gonna check on it.
Okay.
That looked like a lot of dirt for them to be
I got a
moving, and if they
video.
took out trees, that would have been a tree permit.
Yeah, I'm just.
Doesn't
I'm
seem like
just-
they would have had
I
that,
guess
I just
Wait
so.
hope folks put it into consideration, what's gonna happen to the properties that are, I mean,
Of course, yes.
Gentleman Mike back here, his property's gonna be right across the street from where that drainage ditch is gonna be.
Right.
And he's right across the street from where the driveway is gonna be coming out from this other property, so, and that's gonna affect our road. It's gonna affect the drainage on our road. We're not gonna have any drainage, and I sure hope none of you guys are gonna come try to chop down my trees. Because I got some big oaks and I love them, so.
So thankfully, when Bridlewood goes, forward and they have to do all their engineering, there will be drainage work done, so they
Well,
will
he's
have
required to
have
do that.
Drainage calculations.
But I don't know if anybody's even looked. If you look on the GIS website, those trees, every one of them are in the right of way.
Are they? Okay.
So if
The
they're-
road
Yeah,
is
we-
offset.
I mean, we're really not gonna know what trees will need to come
Well, I'm just
out,
saying, if they ever
any.
improve that road, are they gonna get a variance to be able to keep the road where it's at? Or are they gonna be required to move it over where it belongs? That's
Well,
my,
the old road went up beneath my house.
yeah,
I know that for a fact, because I pulled the telephone cable up, so.
right.
um,
But if you look at it,
Yeah.
it's just to the west, the line to the easement is just to the west of all those trees.
So just one more thing. You said earlier that everybody within 300 foot of all the developments are notified?
Not every, it depends on the item they're asking
Okay.
for, so if it's a zoning within 300 feet, letters, signs,
So.
things like that.
So back on 222, when they did the whole property there, that they're the big house and everything, I live within 300 feet and I never got a letter. I never saw a sign up back
I
into that
can
property either.
search it. What was your address?
22034 Northwest 154th Place.
She is a gem.
Yeah.
Tell you.
Yeah, you definitely have a beautiful road over there.
Oh, I love it. I love to drive down that
I
road.
took
I
my
worked
wife
real
down
hard.
it and
I
shot a
worked-
video of it.
Yeah, I worked
3-minute
real hard
ride.
Keeping the trees, the
Yeah.
things up so trucks can go through and keeping the front cleaned up and everything. I'd really hate to see, I'll live with Lake Todd till the day I die, just so you know. I'm just fine with that. I mean, because it's just a natural curve of the road.
Well, if we're approached to properly put the road in, I'm gonna be a vote to say, leave it where it's at and just work with what we have currently. I don't want those trees to go away.
All right, thank you.
It's beautiful.
You're not gonna like my answer, but you're 360 feet away. But I can always go back and double check the notices that went out and see if your name was in it. So I will note down your address and I'll double check for you.
I'm gonna go get a tape measure.
Okay. Feel free, feel free.
Anybody else?
If the road is in the wrong place.
Yeah, I just measured from edge of parcel to edge
Yeah,
of parcel.
edge of
You're
parcel, so-
360.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes,
Joan
ma'am.
White again, just a little question about the 1 acre parcel on Tillman's Acres that's on 222nd. Is anything planned to build there, or is it just under zoning, rezoning?
So Mr. Tillman, Joe Tillman, he wants to place a home on it. Now, whether that's site built, mobile, whatnot, doesn't matter at this point. This is the zoning because he wants a single-family home. It would be one home
Right.
on that
okay.
1 acre.
Okay, all right, thank you. Oh, how many, I'm sorry,
No, you're fine.
the townhouses, I call them townhouses, I used to live in one. How
Yeah.
many are there going to be?
44, and they were in groups of
Four.
four, I believe.
4, yeah.
Groups of 4?
11 buildings, groups of 4, right.
40?
Yeah, of course.
Because I have to report to the people that back home.
Of course.
So this will be them.
Yeah, this is railroad.
Uh-huh. So this is a road, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then it goes.
dead ends, correct?
Which road? Oh, that goes in.
Do you need an address?
Oh, no, it's okay. I
Okay,
can
I'm
find
a
it.
neighbor of Sue's. I live on 154th Place. Is there a way to put up a diagram?
Oh, like a
on the
map
s-
or something?
To show where Joe Tillman's acre
Yeah, if
is
you bear with us a moment, we'll
planned,
see if we can
yeah.
get that going.
And I noticed the road, the new driveway, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's right before we had that big rain
Oh, yeah.
last week, and then it rained again. And I was very curious, of course, and I stopped by, and Al Mincy was there, and he just said somebody needed a new driveway. I said, yeah, this just didn't add up to me.
Can we?
And before, while you're getting that, just for the record also, I oppose the mobile home
Oh, thank you.
at that site.
Can we oppose this rezoning on the basis that he's already started developing the property? Till that's all straightened out?
I don't believe so. We can hold his building permits, though. So any sort of building permits he goes for.
I mean,
any
it should be some
structures.
sort of penalty for that.
Oh, yeah, that was another one of my questions. What do you do about it?
We have no code enforcement practically. People are getting away with stuff left and right now because our code enforcement is so stripped at this
Well,
point.
so for building stuff, usually you pay double.
Ooh, I
That's
like
usually what it is you pay double for whatever permit you didn't pull. So I just have to refer it to.
But it's
Or
supposed to
put
be
it back the
engineering
way it
done.
was.
Right,
I mean-
if possible, yes, if it wasn't something
It's
that they needed.
possible, you know, take the driveway out, buy some trees, put,
But he's supposed to do an engineering plan when it comes to doing something like that, correct?
Well, he's not developing, he's only doing a single-family home, so.
Right, but he's still cutting
He
through a
would've
berm
needed-
that affects water
Oh,
flow and
right,
all
well,
that.
he would have needed, I mean, if he's grading the site, I mean, usually there's a lot more involved with grading of a site. So I don't have that knowledge. I would have to talk to Public Works and to the building department. I'm just not
it's
knowledgeable on
either-
that
it's,
side. I didn't realize he put one
asphalt, I
in.
think. I think
So it's actually
asphalt.
paved?
Yes,
Okay.
black
kinda
hard top,
want to.
and on the sides
Don't you
now,
want to?
they refilled the dirt and put inside.
I would
Okay.
love
And
to.
covered it, you know, so that after more rain.
I'd have to be on
and
a
then
motion, though.
Open it up so it could get some sunlight.
Gotcha.
So,
Can you pull up
where
Map
is
Genius for me, Kevin?
222nd on this?
Yes? Okay.
Okay, and where's the big house on the hill?
It will cause a lot of
Is
issues,
that Amy
but
Tillman's
if
house?
that's what you all want to do, I'm 100% fine with it.
Okay.
Because basically, we've already advertised, it'll
So-
just mean re-advertising.
Where's the driveway at, the new driveway? You lost it.
So, we had already put it for the next agenda on commission, so we would have to re-advertise for that. It's not a big deal, but if we're tabling it, we'll need a specific reason for the zoning. So if there's a specific reason for the zoning, now for his permits and stuff, we can get code enforcement on him as soon as we're done here, and we will hold all building
Other way.
permits.
There you go.
Well, it was a thoughtless.
It's a little more to the south. That's one of the sisters. That one. You've got it. Thank you, Kevin.
How is Bridlewood, around that acre?
It is the parcel to its west and south. That large green, that is
Oh,
Bridlewood.
Okay, that helps a lot, okay. So he wants to be included in what was saved for the landowners that didn't give away the
Right, so
property
they
to
took
Bridlewood.
him out of basically Bridlewood, but
Yeah.
it's Tillman's PD for that one.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
confusing, yeah. But basically, he wants to be, in that same area with the rest of his family for R1.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on this? Oh, ma'am, not you.
Not you.
Excuse me, sir. Hi. Catherine Whites for the record, ma'am. I just have a quick question. To Ms. Weller and Ms. Tapio-Arano's question, with respect to the special use, do I understand that that approval sits squarely with only the city manager?
Correct. It is the lowest form of uses, so it'll just be with Ashley.
Okay. I mean, and what you were talking about, all of these folks who live out on this amazingly beautiful road, on their large pieces of property, are telling us, the city, we don't want a mobile home there because it doesn't fit in.
Right.
The people came and said Bridlewood doesn't fit in at that density either.
Right.
So is there some way, because I understand you guys can't not approve this because this is a separate issue, but when it comes to a special use permit, is there any way to attach a requirement that that special use permit application come before the plan board and the commission?
No, because it's in the LDC that it is administratively done, but she will have all this information, and I don't know if it helps alleviate how you feel about this, but
No,
like,
it's just-
so there was one that was to the north, farther north, I think this was within the last 2 years. There was one that tried to go into, if you know Silverthorne, that area. So right next to it, a parcel tried to get a mobile, and it was denied because all around it are site built and there's no mobiles. So, I mean, I feel like that does set a precedence that this area
It
has
may
already
well,
been,
but
you know, said to not
all
be.
around Bridlewood,
Right.
the
I can't
properties are
guarantee that she
63
will or
times
won't.
bigger. So,
All I get to do is
no, I
get the
understand. I
information
understand.
ready for her,
And
so.
as to the driveway, I'm fairly certain, no, there was not a permit pulled for that because somebody did call me, and I followed up. There was no permit for that, so.
Okay.
And that's a big driveway.
Yeah, I didn't
It's big.
realize how big it was till I saw the
Okay.
pictures, so,
Thank
It
you.
looks
I
like a
appreciate it.
shopping center entrance.
yeah, they're normally not that large for residential.
It's just, we were all talking with ourselves, Julie Tapio again, how quickly the driveway was put in. The sign went up, we were talking to each other, and that driveway was put in by a big crew really fast, and then the rains washed out the big culverts. All that sand was in the road, causing a hazard. I drove over it a few times. And then, within a day and a half, they were laying sod as quick as they could. They were backfilling it and laying sod on both sides of those cutaways as quickly as it was just really fast.
By sign, do you mean like the business
Little
company?
orange notice of land use was put up in the trees, kind of hard to see, up on beyond the property.
Oh, for this
this
particular thing
meeting.
that's
For the
coming up.
zoning,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
the orange
little orange
sign.
sign went up, and that driveway went right in the next couple days.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Well, guys, I want to do something.
I do too, but our hands are tied, unfortunately.
I apologize, and I think I've talked to some of you people on the side. I mean, we feel your frustration. We'll have to approve this, and we just hope that Ashley takes all the information that we've given tonight and sides with you guys on this. I mean,
We'll
I definitely
be
do.
looking into the driveway issue, because we don't want to be
I want-
causing drainage issues, flooding issues, that's no good.
I think
so-
there should be some penalties on that myself.
And
but-
Right.
and if you don't mind, you can let Ashley know how we feel, or we can personally
Of course.
talk to her.
I'll come in and talk to her if you want.
It'll be in my staff report,
All righty.
if we ever get a special use applied for.
They're gonna run me out of here so fast.
No, they're not. I'll make a motion that we pass the rezoning Form PD to R1 for Joe Tillman, number RL 23000001.
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion? Public? All right, roll call.
Donald Alderman,
Yes.
Brad Riddle,
Yes.
Mark Bertocci.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Item number 3, SIP 23000007, minor site plan, Sweet Meats Pole Barn. When is that gonna be
So-
finished?
We'll see.
I'm
Depends on if you approve it tonight. So
Okay.
basically, Sweet Meats is coming on in. They're doing a pole barn on the back. It now meets requirements. So before we had a little bit of issue with the placement. It is now 5 feet away as per code. And it's not going to be really visible from the street. It's behind the property. They will still get all of their building permits that they need. And we are recommending approval on this one, because basically in the past, there was a pole barn. It was an unpermitted pole barn, but this is going the right route, getting it done correctly. So we recommend approval on this minor site plan.
Okay. Anybody here in the public want to speak on this?
What is this about?
Over here where my old church used to be, right next to the pipe plant, they're putting in a butcher shop, meat place, and all that over there. And they wanted to put a pole barn in the back, on the back side of the building, to use for whatever.
Yeah, I believe they want like picnic tables out
Right.
there, place for people to, congregate.
Right. Anybody here in the public want to speak on, anybody here from Sweetmeats?
Yes.
Hop on up. Give us a lowdown.
Oh, yeah.
When are you opening?
As soon as my general contractor can get out of my way.
Okay.
So, first off, I'm Bobby Gay. I'm the owner of Sweet Meat Butcher Shop.
Hmm.
Very thankful to be in High Springs, even though we have jumped through at least half a dozen hula hoops to get here. So, anyway, the pole barn is going to be essentially for barbecue classes. So I compete all over the Southeast in competition barbecue, just like Thomas Henry does here. And so anyway, we're going to bring in world-class competition barbecue guys to teach barbecue to everybody.
Oh, that's
There's
awesome.
nothing that brings people together better than barbecue.
Well, that depends. Kansas City barbecue or Dallas barbecue?
Might need to talk about Georgia too. So,
Georgia too, yeah.
where I'm from. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that's the plan. It's along with that, we're going to have special events. I'm on the Florida Quarterback Club, so we're going to have a wild game dinner later this year, if we get approval, of course. So that's one of the things we want to do. Just special events, classes, and some other things we have up our sleeve.
Awesome. Any questions?
Is this the building existing now, or are you going to build on the vacant land, or?
Well, it was originally an eyesore. So
Right.
it was a dilapidated carport, essentially, wouldn't you say, Christy?
Yeah, it was
Originally a
wild.
motorcycle shop, I think was the first thing, right? And then a feed store?
Yep.
And then a church?
Church, sandwich
Yeah.
shop.
My old church, so.
Yeah, sandwich shop.
Oh, that's right, it was Galloping Gary's. I forgot about that place, sandwich shop.
So we found a lot of work that was not up to code in that building. It was bad, real bad. So one of the worst was the concrete pad in the back where the where that carport was. So we had to tear that out because it wasn't up to code. And we also found out when we tore it out that it was degrading the metal of the building. So we had to tear it out regardless if we wanted to or not. Had to happen.
Right.
And essentially, this is replacing that structure with something that's nice.
Okay.
So in addition to that, you notice the chairs and tables and that kind of stuff on the side. We bought those a little early, but they were for that pole barn for these events and that kind of thing. So we'll be moving those in the proper place once we have
That's
this
awesome.
taken care of.
It is awesome.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, it'll be a nice addition.
I think so. Gonna get fatter, I know that for sure. My wife loves barbecue. Any questions, guys? Nope.
I don't
Okay,
know.
well, thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you.
Oh, you got
Yeah,
one?
good.
I was just gonna ask him, since you're in the barbecue business, the other plan board member who's on vacation and out of state, Tim Bollinger?
Have not met him.
He does the same thing. I mean,
Interesting.
competition.
Oh, yes, I do. It's Myron Mixon's guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know Myron quite well. We, I grew up around the same area.
Do you want us to table this until he's back?
Nope.
Hey, we're 6.5 months behind, by the way. So we were supposed to open in January, but we ran into.
You've had a lot of issues.
Yeah,
I
that's
could write a book on what could go wrong.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody in the public want to speak on this? No. Okay. Well, any more discussion, guys?
No,
I need a motion.
wasn't he giving out free tickets to everybody here?
I thought he was giving away free tickets. Yeah.
No bribery.
I'll motion to pass SIP 23 000007, the minor site plan, Sweet Meats Pole Barn.
I second that motion.
Any more discussion? Christie?
Donald Alderman.
Ooh, I don't know. Let's go with a yes.
Brad Riddle.
Yes.
Mark Bertocci.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Guys, we're done. I need a motion to close it.
Motion to close the meeting.
A second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign?